Hello, everybody. I have an announcement. The podcast is moving to Spotify.
So Joe Rogan had an exclusive $100 million deal with Spotify and everybody went crazy after that.
Joe Rogan is moving his content to Spotify.
Joe Rogan has signed an exclusive deal with Spotify.
Joe Rogan just got a $100 million deal from Spotify, according to Wall Street Journal, to move his entire podcast and YouTube exclusively by the end of the year on Spotify.
Is this the biggest news for podcasts? Yes, it is, because it ended up making Spotify about $5 billion in stocks just that day. So if you don't know about Joe Rogan, he's a stand-up comedian and a TV host who launched his podcast in 2009. And since then, till today, his podcast has become one of the most popular podcasts in the world. And he invites people from every industry to his podcasts, with each episode being 2-hour-long deep conversation about everything. So today I'm going to tell you about my favorite Joe Rogan podcasts, which are just so much worth watching. So the first episode is with Naval Ravikant, and this is by far my favorite episode of any podcast I've ever listened to. By that I mean that I have never listened to any better podcast which has affected me in the way that this particular podcast did. So Naval's idea of work and building an independent future for yourself is just so much valuable, and he talks about everything in this particular podcast. I can watch this podcast on repeat any number of times, so you better go and watch this before you do anything else. Second is the episodes with Jordan B. Peterson. So J.B. Peterson is a clinical psychologist, and he has a couple of episodes with Joe Rogan. Each of these episodes would hit that note in your brain which no other person can in no other way. Just listening to J.B. Peterson is so beautiful, and it helps you in so many ways. There's a reason a lot of people call him their virtual dad. Third of my favorite is the episodes with Elon Musk. Elon has been to Joe Rogan's podcast twice, and each episode tells a lot about him, about his thinking process, about how is he coming out with innovations continuously, and what stuff is he working on. And you should definitely know all these things about him if you're a geek like me. So these are my 3 favorite Joe Rogan podcasts, and if you haven't heard of Joe Rogan ever before, you definitely should start with these 3 episodes. And do provide your favorite Joe Rogan episodes in the comments below.